Hello everyone, my name is Sarah Heilig and this is the very first episode of Sarahtonin. Sarahtonin is a mental and emotional wellness podcast, and you may be wondering what that means. Mental and emotional wellness refers to a person's abilities to cope and handle their own emotions. Here at Sarahtonin, we really want to advise that discussion helps you work through those, and also surrounding yourself with positive people helps you work through those things. Honestly, struggling with your emotions is something that can affect you on a day-to-day basis. So it's so important to have resources around you that can help you feel supported. My goal in this podcast is to create a safe environment and a growing connection with you all. So I appreciate you all for even being here today, and I hope I can continue to connect with you. Again, I'm Sarah, I'm 18 years old, and I'm a senior in high school. Currently, this is for my senior seminar project, but honestly, it doesn't even feel like it's for school because I've always wanted to make a podcast. I just feel like I've kind of needed a push because I am a procrastinator. So, with that being said, this is super exciting for me, and I'm so happy I have this opportunity to start making a podcast. In the past, I have had YouTube channels and things like that, and I also just talk a whole lot, so honestly just talking about discussions that I love and video production and editing, like all of that stuff really sparks my interest, so I'm really happy to be making this today. Thank you so much again for listening, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode. So y'all just heard That's No Fun by Steve Lacy. That's No Fun is a song that I really correlate with, and I thought it would be a perfect segment in this episode because we're going to be talking about how change is growth, how change can be character development, and all of that good stuff. Basically, in his song, he talks about how a lot of his friends wonder why he's not the same Steve he used to be like, and things like that. See, for a celebrity, a lot of people say that their fame makes them into a different person, but we have to remember at the end of the day, they are still people, and they go through character development just like we do as people. And I think that you should learn from all of your experiences, and in that cases, it does kind of change you as a person. Change can be a very positive connotation, but I feel like when you are disconnecting from a lot of the people that you have surrounded yourself with at one point, a lot of people consider it negative. We're going to get into it a little bit more into the episode, but stay tuned, grab a snack, get comfortable, and I'll see you in our discussion. So, as you heard, we're going to be talking about change today. I feel like this is a very fitting topic because, I don't know, most of the people listening are probably in high school, and we are going through a lot of change right now. It's also a great thing to start out with because it's something that we can guarantee we all relate to. Whether you are someone who changes your hair every, few weeks, few months, or you're someone who changes your style, your music, you go through a lot of phases. That is life, and it is something that we can all relate to, and although it can be very cringe at times to look back upon our middle school photos, it also can be really beautiful. So as I said earlier, many of us are seniors listening, and there's a lot of new things coming to us. We are being established to a completely new environment, college tuition, possibly going out of state, new friends, new everything, and that can be very scary. It is kind of crazy how change is split into many things. We desire change as seniors, like we want to get out very bad, but at the same time it's very fearful, and at the same time it's beautiful. So I'm going to explain all of that in this episode, and it's going to definitely help if I explain you guys my backstory. I have always been a person that has moved around, so I have practically experienced change all throughout my life. Not only like environment changes periodically, but also character development changes, and it has been a lot. At a very young age, my mom and my dad divorced, and I moved to Illinois. Illinois was a lot different. I was born in Ohio, so Illinois was a big change in environments. I lived in a smaller town than what I was used to, and obviously I was introduced to a completely new family because my mom remarried, and I had a stepbrother now and a stepdad, and I went to a private school. It was a lot academically advanced, so that was something to get used to. It was very intimidating. I had uniforms now, and worst of all, I got held back. So practically, I guess one could say everything was new except my grade, because I was repeating the same grade. Third grade again. Yay, love that. But yeah, it was very intimidating. I feel like to ease all of the intimidation, I grew a very strong attachment to all of the friends I made, and kind of barricaded myself and secluded myself from the new family and only spent time with my friends, which really backfired later, and you guys will hear that from me. I spent a lot of time with them. A few years later, moved to Texas. My mom and my stepdad got a divorce, and my mom got a great job opportunity in Texas. So we had to move pretty quickly. We were not able to find a place to stay in time, so we were staying at an extended stay. I dropped all of my friends I had to since I moved. We still tried to talk, but it just didn't really come easy. So yeah, it was a completely different change. I was practically forced into isolation. And it was very tough for me, I'm not gonna lie. That was probably the first time that I had to experience sadness, considering, I don't know, my first move, I was so young, I couldn't really experience sadness from the move. So since I actually made genuine connections in the move from Illinois to Texas, it was very difficult. Luckily, I did get to plan a lot of visits with the friend that I made that I spent a lot of time with. We did visit each other for a really long time, but it became hard. We were both growing in our separate ways, and it's really hard to stay connected with someone for that long, if you know what I mean. So, with that, we kind of started to drift away. I started to kind of feel emotions that I wasn't worthy enough or funny enough, and I don't know, started to feel blame, me losing my friendships that were in Illinois on myself, and say that I wasn't very worthy or funny or just, I don't know, a good person, and started to make myself feel like that isolation had to be a negative connotation, when in reality, isolation can be a good thing. It's so healthy to spend alone time with yourself. But unfortunately, sometimes, honestly, people just need to experience it for themselves to understand. And I don't know, when you're experiencing things, they can't always be positive to teach you a lesson. It's usually a pretty negative thing to teach you a lesson. And I kind of had to learn that throughout this process of growth and things like that a lot of times many things are presented to us in a way to help us grow. So for me, the kind of dependency issue I got presented with a big life change that forced isolation on me, which came again later through COVID. So clearly I did not learn it well enough the first time. That came upon me. I started making internet friends because I felt very lonely, and this is kind of when my mental illness started, because my mom found out that I was talking to people online, and I was still very young, so it was quite dangerous to do something like that. So she took my phone away, and I just felt like I had no one. It felt like my breaking point. I could not talk to anyone. At this point, I barely talked to people in Illinois, and I really let my friendships basically dictate my happiness, which is so unhealthy. If you find yourself being in a place where you can't control your happiness, it's definitely not a good sign, and you definitely have to take on your mental health and be more in tune with yourself and not let people dictate your emotions. I say this all the time. It is like you are the only person you're going to have in the long run. You are the only person you can guarantee you're going to have that is on this earth. So therefore, I really guarantee you become in tune with yourself and love yourself, and just put healthy things in your body. Grow such a healthy connection with yourself in all aspects, mentally, physically, spiritually, everywhere. And I think that is something I'll probably always live by. But yeah, I was clearly not in that place at all, because I was letting other people dictate me, my emotions, and my headspace, and it caused me to kind of go in a spiral and a big depression. That is the first time that I genuinely felt depressed. I started having negative thoughts, started doing really bad things to myself, treating myself badly, and started having a very unhealthy connection with food, and sometimes I even thought that I was unworthy of feeding myself. I noticed changes in my body because I just didn't have an appetite, and I could really tell I was rock bottom for a really long time. And I kind of stood my ground and just realized that this wasn't for me. I could not be in an isolated space like this anymore, and told my mom that I had to go to a public school because I was in an online school and it just was not for me. A few weeks later, I was in an in-person school. I met friends very fast, and things practically turned around. But unfortunately, you kind of learn that mental health doesn't just go away with a snap of a finger. So kind of all of the struggles still came on with me, specifically my confidence and body image. I feel like in middle school, body image and confidence is just such a big thing. It's really when all the self-comparison started, and specifically body image, because a lot of my friends were thinner than me. Although I was very thin myself, I started to kind of have body dysmorphia and just compare myself with the people around me, and it was very unhealthy. But I made it like a competition in my head to be smaller than them, and it was super harmful. And I don't know, sometimes people can be very condescending with the things they say about weight, especially, I don't know, sometimes losing weight is too much of a positive connotation to people. You're losing weight, you're doing a good thing, but nobody ever knows how you're losing the weight, or in what ways you're losing the weight, or what intentions you have losing weight. And I think that's where it becomes kind of like a big question mark and a gray area. So what I'm saying is check on your folks, bro. Not everything is as great as it seems, okay? But yeah, it was super harmful. It really took me moving again to kind of see the change in my mental health. And I really want to emphasize how this took years for me to realize. It took a lot of changes for me to even realize that all of this was happening for a good thing, because you really see the good in the long run later. Because it's kind of hard to tell someone, oh, this is happening for a good reason, because you can't tell someone who's experiencing pain that this is a good thing. You can experience the pain, but in the long run, if you are smart about it, you can learn from all of the situations you experience. And as I said, all of this happens for a reason. When I moved for the last time, I'm back in Columbus, Ohio, which is where I still am today. And it's just crazy because it's a full circle, and I started in two completely different places and went through so many different things. When I got back to Ohio, I was finally to a place where I stopped being so obsessive over my body. I still definitely had kind of like a weird relationship with it unconsciously, and just put it in different places, but it was better and different than before. So therefore, I was back in Columbus. I met friends pretty easily, but I had a very toxic friend group. I met this girl, and she was very, very, very pretty, and I still really did have a problem with self-comparison. But when I said I put it in different places, that's what I mean. Obviously, we're in 8th grade, and dating in 8th grade is very, we're not even going to go there, honestly. But it was just something else. She was like one of those really pretty girls that just got all guys, and I really compared myself in like situations with her. I would always just wonder why I couldn't get anyone, and when I did, they were always like, oh, well, I like her, and I'd be like, dang. And I'd really compare myself and just talk bad upon myself, and it just tore me apart. It really did. I felt like I was unworthy, and I always craved validation all of a sudden. And then bang, quarantine. Honestly, the validation thing, it turned into a lot of failed relationships for me to realize that I kind of had to stop with the whole validation thing. But quarantine forced me into another isolation, and made me realize that I never really did ever detach myself from like being so dependent on all my friends. I still did feel kind of sad sometimes throughout quarantine, and still did feel like I was unworthy and not funny and just not cool and things like that. And I realized that I wasn't healed, and quarantine was a way that I was able to spend more time with myself and become more in tune with myself, and also love myself. I was able to experiment more with my fashion and my hair and just things like that, and really just understand who I truly am. Obviously, quarantine had a lot that came with it. I was able to really fully accept my Blackness. I feel like that's when I really started to do that and become more serious about understanding who I am and my culture and things like that, because I have been isolated from my culture and who I am for a very long time, and honestly, unconsciously really just tried to shove it down because I felt a little ashamed and not proud of who I was, just because of my surroundings, and everyone kind of seemed to make it seem like I shouldn't be proud of it, and I didn't feel comfortable in embracing myself. But because of the confidence I was able to build, I finally felt good. In conclusion, let life. Honestly, it doesn't make sense, but it does. Sometimes you just have to let change be growth. Sometimes you are your own downfall, and when you see changes in your life and how intimidating you are, you tend to run from them. When I say you, I mean we, by the way. I mean humans, not you. I'm not targeting you, I promise. We let change intimidate us so much. Sometimes we run away from it, and sometimes we let life just reoccurringly present us with the same things over and over again because we rather not go through the process of learning from them. And I am here to tell you today, if you are seeing like something that's reoccurring in your life, please learn from them. Look at your mistakes, because it will keep reoccurring, and sometimes it gets worse. Unfortunately, those horrible things that are presented to you are meant to be grown from. And let me just tell you, I've gotten represented with the same things over and over and over again. And finally, when I decided to just learn from it, that's when it stopped happening. And that is such an obvious statement, but I just feel like the stubborn nature of humans is so real. Like, I don't know. I feel like everybody has a sense of stubbornness. And I feel like it's just in a little bit of everybody. But it is so important to just don't let yourself be your own downfall. Learn from your mistakes. Change is okay. It is no fun to stay the same. And if I'm reflecting over everything I talked about in this episode, I can tell you that I no longer have body image problems. I am at the healthiest relationship I've ever been with food in my entire life. I am as confident as I ever have been in my entire life. My mental health, hey, I still have mental health struggles. I am not a perfect human at all, but I do not react the same as I did in the past. In the past, I would go through a rock bottom situation and I would react so negatively, it would honestly just make the situation worse and make me spiral more. I would react by harming myself or not giving myself food, and you kind of have to get to the place where you realize that life still has to life, but you are allowed to feel these emotions as well. And you get kind of to the point where there's like a balance of letting yourself feel, but also trying to baby step and move on from the situation. And I feel like I'm starting to get to that point where I'm able to persevere from a situation while also healing. And that is a very good place to be. I am proud of myself from the things that I just said to you guys, and I hope that you are able to sit and think about the times that maybe there's been something reoccurring in your life that you need to learn from, and or maybe that you have learned from, and I am so proud of you if you have. Yay! I know each and one of you have persevered through something, and honestly, let's just be proud of our small achievements because, hey, even the small things are so, so, so important. I love you all, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to me talk. The fact that I am even here today talking about this just says that I have the confidence now to speak and let myself be heard. And that is another thing I'm so proud of. So I love you all. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.